In the end, I enrolled in a teacher's college. It wasn't my first choice. It wasn't even my second or third choice. In my city, it was considered a lower-tier institution, the kind of place where people who couldn't make it anywhere else ended up. Some saw it as settling. I chose to see it differently. That teacher's college became the foundation of everything I would later build. Looking back now, having had the opportunity to learn from some of the most prestigious institutions in the world, I can say with complete honesty that my time at that humble teacher's college was more valuable than anything else. It taught me resilience. It taught me humility. It taught me that the name on your diploma matters far less than the hunger in your heart and the work you're willing to put in. Years later, when I had already built something significant, I applied to one of the world's most renowned business schools. 10 times I submitted my application. 10 times they rejected me. They didn't even want to interview me. I imagine they looked at my background, my resume, and thought, this person doesn't fit our profile. This isn't someone we need here. And you know what? I think that was perfectly normal. I wasn't offended by it. I understood that I didn't look like their typical candidate on paper, but it reinforced something important. The institutions that reject you don't define your worth or your potential. Only you get to decide that. The struggle, when hope feels distant. Those early years were brutal. After finishing my education, I took a teaching position at a university. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was now working at the very type of institution that had rejected me as a student. But the reality of that job was far from glamorous. My monthly salary was approximately $50. $50 to cover rent, food, transportation, everything. I remember calculating how much I could spend on each meal, how I could stretch every dollar to make it to the end of the month. There were days when I wondered if I had made the right choices, if there was any point to the struggle. The frustration was overwhelming at times. I would see my former classmates who had gone into business or other fields, and they seemed to be moving forward while I felt stuck. I was educated, I was working hard, but financially, I was barely surviving. It would have been easy to become bitter, to blame the system or my circumstances. But something inside me refused to accept that this was how my story would end. I couldn't articulate it clearly at the time, but I felt that there was something more waiting for me. I felt that if I kept working, if I kept learning, if I kept pushing forward, eventually an opportunity would present itself. I just had to be ready when it came. I worked harder than anyone around me, not because I enjoyed struggle for its own sake, but because I understood that I had to prove something, not to others, but to myself. I had to prove that my background didn't determine my future. I had to prove that rejection wasn't the same as failure. I had to prove that someone like me, someone without advantages or connections, could still create something meaningful. Those were formative years. The difficulty, the financial stress, the uncertainty, they all shaped who I would become. They taught me the value of money because I understood what it meant to have so little. They taught me empathy because I knew what it felt like to be overlooked and underestimated. They taught me that comfort and security, while nice, aren't necessary for growth. Sometimes it's the struggle itself that prepares you for what's coming. The turning point when vision meets opportunity. In 1995, I had an experience that would change the trajectory of my entire life. I traveled to the United States for the first time, and there I encountered something that most people were still skeptical about: the internet. I remember sitting in front of a computer, watching information flow across the screen, and feeling this electric sense of possibility. Most people around me saw it as a novelty, a toy for academics and tech enthusiasts. But I saw something different. I saw a tool that could connect people across vast distances, that could democratize access to information, that could fundamentally change how business was conducted. I thought to myself, this could be significant. Not just incrementally important, but world-changing. I'll be honest with you, I never imagined it would become as ubiquitous and transformative as it is today. Nobody could have predicted the full extent of how the internet would reshape every aspect of human society. But I didn't need to see the complete picture. I just needed to see enough to know that there was an opportunity worth pursuing. When I returned home and tried to explain my vision to people, the response was almost universally negative. Friends thought I was being naive. Family members worried I was making a mistake. Even people in the business community dismissed the internet as something that would never work in our market. They said things like, "That's an interesting idea, but it's not practical here," or "You're thinking too far ahead," or "Why would anyone want to buy things online?" But here's what I learned from observing successful people throughout my life. They don't think like everyone else. I've been fortunate enough to meet and learn from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders in the world. People whose names you would recognize instantly. And while they all have different styles and approaches, they share certain fundamental characteristics. First, they're relentlessly optimistic about the future. Not in a naive way, but in a way that allows them to see possibilities where others see obstacles. They don't ignore problems. They get energized by them because they see problems as opportunities in disguise. Second, they don't waste time complaining. Think about it. How many successful people do you know who spend their time blaming circumstances or other people for their challenges? They don't, because they understand that complaining is passive and action is active. Complaining makes you feel better momentarily, but changes nothing. Action might be difficult and uncertain, but it's the only path to improvement. Third, they focus on solving other people's problems rather than just their own. This is crucial. Where do opportunities come from? They come from the gaps between what people need and what's currently available. They come from the frustrations people express, the inefficiencies they tolerate, the wishes they have. If you listen to what people complain about and you think, "I could solve that," you've found opportunity. Some people sit around complaining about problems. Successful people sit around thinking about solutions. The shift from, "Why is this so difficult?" to, "How could I make this easier?" is the shift from consumer to creator, from passive to active, from ordinary to extraordinary. When everyone agrees that something is a good idea, why would that opportunity be uniquely yours? By the time consensus forms, the window has often closed. The biggest opportunities exist precisely in those moments when most people disagree, when most people are skeptical, when most people think you're crazy for even trying. The principle, belief before proof. Here's the hard truth that nobody wants to hear. You will almost never have unanimous support when you're doing something truly innovative. If you wait for everyone to believe in your vision, your investors, your friends, your family, your colleagues, you'll wait forever. What matters is that you believe in it. What matters is that you can articulate why you believe in it. What matters is that you can find a core team of people who share that belief and are willing to work alongside you to make it real.